and welcome to episode 14 of the Just Run podcast with me, Rhys Morgan.
I mean, Nathan Marshall.
How has the past week or so been? I saw that you did the Big Moose Ultra Fun Run. You want to talk about that a bit? It looked amazing.
Yeah, it was. Well, we turned up 8 o'clock, and the weather was just perfect. Sun was out, blue sky, no wind, no rain for a change. And then it was like a who's who of South Wales running. It was just incredible. So he was just chatting to everyone. Turned round, and we had Paul from Lush there in his big shiny helmet. Riding a bike round, and then he's in a bloody ice bath, so he was running around like a nutter. Then we had a load of it's why we run runners who all come down from like around the UK to run. So that was nice seeing all of them. But yeah, over 1,000 runners. I think 600 of them did the 5 and 10K. A lot of them for the first time. My boy did the 10K. His first 5K was okay. Second 5K, it was a battle for getting round. But the amount of support he was getting off everyone, it was just incredible. They were running with it. Come on, Quinn, let's do this, Quinn. Go on, Quinn. Yeah, it was just awesome. Yeah, awesome. The wife knocked out at 2:20. 2:27 for a half marathon.
Amazing.
But yeah, what a day. I can just see it getting bigger next year again. Because they had a little village set up and music blaring. You had food, coffee, a few like vendors and everything, physios, and yeah, the atmosphere was amazing. It was incredible.
Well, I hope it does. I mean, we speak about the running community all the time. It's just bringing people together through running, isn't it? And even if you didn't run, it looked incredible, and I was very jealous. I wish I'd been there. You also got to meet one of the team for the first time. Oh no, well, not first,
No,
second
I
time.
knew so. Yeah, Sophie was there. Turned up late because her dog had locked herself out the house, so she had to wait for a locksmith, which was quite funny. But yeah, she got there and started doing laps quite late, but she knocked out a couple of laps on there. Yeah,
And I met Jen.
Yeah, and you met Jen down in Surrey. So yeah,
Yes,
all that's really busy.
I
What was the chances, isn't it?
exactly. I was gutted I couldn't be at the ultra fun run, but I was volunteering at the Ultra X Spring Trail Series down in Surrey, and again, like you said, blue skies. You couldn't have asked for better weather. In fact, in the afternoon, it was almost too hot, and for the runners, like a lot of them were suffering because they didn't expect it. And yeah, I did volunteer at a couple of checkpoints and stuff like that. And at the end of it, then when I was going back to like the headquarters, I heard next runner in, Jen Humphreys, and I was like, "What? That's not, is it?" Because I hadn't seen any posts of her doing that. And I ran over, and yeah, there she was. Gave me a big hug. Had a photo with her. It was great to meet her, and hopefully we'll get to meet Sophie soon as well. Well, me anyway. But yeah, that was a great event. Like beautiful down there. But on the subject of Ultra X, actually, I have an official announcement. I am officially signed up to my first of 13 Ultra X races of 2025. So next January, I will be running 110 kilometers in Rwanda, and I am so cannot wait. And I
Have they
have
got
to say,
lions there?
don't know. Don't start talking about wildlife now because you're going to scare the shit out of me. Don't say that because I'm trying to put that at the back of my mind. But I do have to say, very importantly, that I wouldn't have been able to do it without the support from my friend Lee and his company, Inspired Business Media, because I'm trying now to get, obviously, like I said in the last episode, sponsorship. Sorry, with Becca, wasn't it? To do all of these and get support. And I've had some really promising conversations. But my friend Lee, I've known him since school. I played rugby with him. He's a very successful entrepreneur. And yeah, Inspired Business Media, his company, have helped make the run number one possible. And he's helped me in the past as well. And I just want to mention, so for anybody who doesn't know anything about them, they bring a world of business together through qualified engagement. It all seems very complicated, too complicated for my head, but it's basically inspiring the next generation of executives. And if you get a chance, if you own a company, what they do in a nutshell is they help bring businesses together. Have a look at Inspired Business Media, and again, I'm going to be shouting their name out, and anybody else who can help me, because without your support, I wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you so much to Lee and Inspired Business Media. Really, really chuffed. And yeah, on to the next one, really. Let's hope that pushes people to put their faith in me for this stupid challenge I'm doing
tell you
for cancer
who else I
research.
bumped into on Sunday is, you know, the guy you were saying about just sat at the checkpoint and you knew a friend in work.
Oh yeah, the card Albany
Albany
Road runners.
Road, yeah.
Yeah, I saw the picture.
Graham,
Yeah,
you come up
great.
to me and said, "Oh yeah, I'm so and so." I was like, "Oh wow, small world."
Yeah, brilliant. That
But
was really good.
I did have so many people come up to me Sunday and said, "Oh, I'm loving the podcast,"
Yeah, yeah,
which is it's nice.
yeah, it is. I mean, I was down in Surrey and I bumped into Flo, who, I didn't know. Met her for the first time and started talking. And turns out her coach is Lewis Roblin. We've had on the podcast before. We're both friends with, and we got talking, and she just kind of clicked and was like, "Oh, I recognize you just from a podcast." And I was like, "What?" It's just mad. Like, stood in a car park in Hazelmere Rugby Club, 4 hours away from home. And yeah, it's cool. She recognized my ugly mug. But that's why we do this, man. If it's bringing people together, educating people whilst having fun, why not? And
Yeah,
we've
I got a
got,
cool story about Flo with her fish and chips. She ran past me along the Welsh coast and she just made a joke, "Oh, I'm going to get fish and chips now." And I'm thinking, yeah, whatever. Who has fish and chips on day 4 of an ultra? And I get to the next village and she's sat on the wall eating her fish and chips. And 20 minutes later, then she's caught up to me and passed me again.
a bit of a kick in the nuts, I don't
Yeah, I
know.
know, sickening. But Flo is a really good runner.
It'd be funny if she'd run past you and gone, "I'm going to get pizza now."
I know, yeah. Yeah, but she's awesome, Flo. Wicked runner.
She hadn't long come back from Tanzania, actually, when I spoke to her.
No, she does
She,
a lot of
she
Ultra X, doesn't she?
Yeah, she crewed up in Tanzania, and she said she's trying to get back there because it was absolutely unbelievable. So I was buzzing just after speaking to her and being around those guys and meeting a lot of them for the first time. So yeah, amazing. Today we are speaking with Alan Bateson, or better known as the running monk Shropshire. He is a solid ultra runner, and for those who don't know, in 2023 he ran the entire Welsh coastal path, so around 880 miles, I'm told, due to a few diversions, and claimed the fastest known time, coming in at 19 days, 5 hours, 5 minutes, and 30 seconds, beating the previous record of 20 days, 10 hours, and 36 minutes, set by a local guy, Rhys Jenkins, the Pegasus founder. Now, at this stage, Alan could have returned home like a normal person, got some much needed rest, ate copious amounts of pizza, and wallowed in his success whilst catching up on some bargain hunt on TV or something. But Alan is no normal person. Instead, he carried on running for more than 170 miles to complete the Offers Dyke National Trail as well. So for you number crunchers out there, that's, well, in 22 days, 12 hours and 27 minutes, he ran 1,059 miles. So for the people who use kilometers, that's not kilometers, that's miles. So let that sit in. Unbelievable. Alan is also a running coach, race director. He's a recovering addict, and I must say also a collector of one hell of an amazing tattoo bodysuit, which I admire every time I see his pictures. I'm not going to lie, I'm incredibly jealous. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at that. That's the introduction. Alan, how are you, my friend? How you doing?
Okay, man. What I can tell you is the bodysuit hurt more than the 1,059 miles.
I do not take that for 1 minute, mate. Mate, I got to ask, how long did that take you to even get all that complete?
It's an ongoing process. I'm having some of my back and my backside done at the minute. So it's I was 20 years. I'm 45 now. I started when I was 20 or 21. It's
Oh,
good. depending on the levels of my addiction in my 20s and 30s, depending on how much I spent. But I haven't gone many years without adding something to it.
That's incredible. Wow, fair play. I'm very jealous. I've got I've got my full arm done now. But I'm in the process of trying to get my entire body done. But as you know, as painful as it is, it's also incredibly expensive and time sensitive.
Yeah,
But
exactly that.
yeah, mate, thank you so much for coming on with me and Nathan. It's a pleasure to have you on here. You're a bit of a legend to us ultra runners, and just wanted to just first of all dive in there and ask first and foremost. I think the question everybody wants to know is why the running monk? Where did that come from then?
Yeah, there's a bit of. I mean, it's quite simple, really. The life I lived prior to getting sober was far from the life of a monk. When you've had problems with drugs, cocaine, alcohol, well, pretty much any drug and alcohol going for a number of years, living the life I currently live, it is very monastic. It's very much like a monk. So when I first decided, I mean, I never had an email, I never had social media, nothing until I was about 42. And then when I first ran the Office Dyke a few years ago to raise money for a charity, a friend of mine said, you need to get on social media. This is how you're going to raise some money. This is how you're going to raise profile for the charity Calm. So in my naivety, I just said, yeah, that's fine. Help me out. So we did it. And she said, what's your name going to be? And I said, well, Alan Bateson, that's my name. It doesn't work like that with social media, apparently. You've got to have a name. So that's just what came out of my mouth at the time. Running for me is it's like meditation. It's where I find peace. It is my sanctuary, although at the minute I'm not running because of an injury, but we'll come to that later. Yeah, and it's just stuck, and it seems to resonate with people. I get asked that question a lot, obviously, why a monk? But if you'd known me years ago, then you'd see the difference is I am very monk-like now. And I like my routine. I like a very quiet life. This is going to be a late night for me tonight. I normally go to bed at 8:30, 9. My day starts at 5:30, 6. And I like to just do exactly the same thing day in, day out. I know what works for me. I know what keeps me sober, happy. And that's how I live.
That's fair. I personally, obviously, the first time chatting with you. I don't know anything about that, but as long as you're okay talking about that, as you mentioned, that obviously you battled in the past with drug abuse and that type of thing. Can I ask, what was the turning point? At what point in your life, or what made you change that lifestyle and say that's enough? Kind of what was that turning point?
I mean, that's an interesting thing. You can speak to many addicts, and you'll get different stories on I hit this rock bottom and that was a turning point. For me, there wasn't really. I've always had a love-hate relationship with it. The first time I tried to get sober, I wasn't even old enough to drink. I was about 17. I've always known that I have problems with it, and I've always ran, and I've always played football, and I've always lifted weights. I've always been into that lifestyle, so I've always teetered on the brink of both lives. I don't think from the age of probably 14, I never went more than 2 or 3 years without having some kind of moment of clarity where I needed to try and stop. So I'd have a little clean up. I'd get really fit again. I'd be running. In my 20s, I'd be playing football. I'd be going to the gym. I'd be lifting weights and I'd be feeling good. Then I'd convince myself I was cured now. So I'd just maybe go out and have a spliff or have a few beers after football on a Saturday. Within 2 months, I'd be drinking in the week. It would escalate, or cocaine would come into it, ecstasy, whatever the drug of choice was at that time. But in my 30s, it really started to get a bit darker. I would be drinking at home alone. I'd be using cocaine in the week. I'd be using cocaine alone. I'd be hiding alcohol in the garage in the house I lived in, sneaking it when no one was looking. It just stopped being fun. And when it stops being fun and it stops being social and it starts to impact on your sense of self, I think the end is nigh. So, I mean, I was 38 when I got fully sober, but in that last year from 37 to 38, I think I had probably 5 months of drinking and 7 months sober. It just, every time I relapsed, I hated it and I didn't enjoy it. It was just, I'd start to drink and then I was incapable of stopping. So there was no real moment. There's no Damascene moment where I can say this was it. I'm never doing it again. But what I do know is when I decided on Sunday, the 19th of November 2017, I had a little bit of wine left in the fridge and a couple of cans of cider, and I just knew as soon as they were finished, I was going to bed 7 o'clock that Sunday night, and I woke up on Monday, the 20th of November, and I just knew I'd never drink again, and I haven't. I don't know why I knew. I just knew that I was sick to death of the negative shit that it brought to my life. So that was it. Game over. I was still smoking a bit of weed at that time. I had a couple of spliffs after that, but I never drank alcohol again. And then I stopped smoking cigarettes early the next year, 2018.
Wow.
Did you have to change your social group?
Yeah.
To help you, yeah.
That's something a lot of people don't really think about or talk about. You have to make massive sacrifices. I was in a very unhappy marriage at that time, which was, that was falling apart anyway. That dissolved the year after. I'm lucky we still get on okay, and we've got 3 kids. That's worked out okay. The friends that you think are your friends that you spend time with doing drugs or going to the pub with, the friends that are actually friends will understand and will support you in your new lifestyle. The friends that aren't friends, that just, are drinking buddies, that you just gradually have a parting of ways, and you have to accept that they go their path, you go yours. I've always had quite a wide variety of friends anyway, because I've always lived in separate camps. The football camp, the running camp, the going to the gym, the coke dens, it's just I've always had this weird collection of friends and acquaintances. But also I'm quite a loner as well. I'm very happy in my own company. I'm very happy doing my own thing. I can go out and run 50 miles on my own, never speak to anyone, and I'm perfectly happy. No music, it's not a problem. And I can sit and get drunk and take drugs on my own and be perfectly happy. So those sacrifices that you make, they affect some people more than others. For me, I'm quite... Well, Katie, my girlfriend's upstairs. She would say I'm quite brutal, I suppose. I can just, right, this is it. That's the end of that. We move on. Go. Done. And that's, I think, if you want to be successful at anything or leave anything behind, that's how you have to be. It's the same now. Using that same mindset with running now. I'm injured. I can't run. So I just think, right, this is it. What can I do that's going to keep me sober and happy? So I can't run. So I put that to one side. Frustration is there, obviously, but I concentrate on getting fit, strong. So when I come back to running, my body's as equipped as it can be to deal with it.
I'll come back to that injury in a second. Like I said, we'll speak about that. Just to touch on that, one other thing. So obviously it's very closely linked to your life now, running and fitness and everything. So I guess you kind of asked it, what role does running and physical activity play in the ongoing recovery journey, and how do you kind of, obviously we touched on the fact you've got your running company as well, running monk trail events, is it? Sorry,
monk trail events,
yeah. I mean, how do you integrate that into your coaching philosophy at all? Do you think it drips into that?
A little bit. My coaching, I coach all kinds of runners, but I tend to, I suppose because of my own experiences and what people know about me, I tend to coach a lot of ultra runners. Whereas my running events go from 5K right the way up to ultra distance. But I have a very open approach where I try and encourage, because running literally, without being an exaggeration, saved my life numerous times. I want to make running and sport and everything else as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So, for example, we've just recently had a 10K. There'd be an hour and 20 minutes between first and last runner on a 10K. The last 50K we did at the end of last year, I think we had the winner was about 4.5 hours. The last runner was 12.5 hours. The only message we had on the Sunday was from the person that finished last to say she was ecstatic with her achievement. So they're the moments I want to share with. So the philosophy of how I coach runners is different to how I want my events to be. I'm not saying I don't coach runners that are less capable, but runners that are maybe less capable tend to just run. Do you know? Whereas
Yeah,
generally,
they enjoy it more, don't they? They enjoy the
yeah,
accomplishment rather than sort of like the challenge of
generally,
beating a time
generally,
and
I
stuff.
think if you're going to pay a coach, generally you're looking to make improvements in certain areas, which is cool. I think it should be accessible to everyone, and that as a running company, it means we have a really good day out, we have a really good mix, and we get to share in some really special moments with people.
You have cut-offs, Al.
Nope, not on the 5K, not on the 50 mile, not on anything.
That's awesome.
Wow, that is awesome. That is
We were
definitely
we were
awesome.
just we were going to do our first 100 miler this year. We've just actually had to cancel it because we just haven't had enough take up on it. We were going to be like no cut offs. I think it's the only 100 miler in the UK with no cut off, which was a massive gamble on our part. But unfortunately, we didn't have the take up on it, and the costs are high. You can imagine. But it's something I'd like to do in the future at some point if we could get some take up on it.
Yeah,
And, you know, we're never going to make loads of money. I'm not asked about making loads of money. If I wanted to make loads of money, I've been a hairdresser for years. I don't do that anymore. But if I wanted to make money, I'd stick at that. I would love to just put on a 100 miler where people aren't chasing the clock.
yeah.
So it's been put on the shelf for now, but that's something I'll do in the future, hopefully.
Well, we like to share all the links and everything in this and talk about it as much as we can. So if obviously we can help get that message out there as well, because I think that's a really important message. Is that so Pegasus, who I do a lot of mine with, my first 100 is in June. They got a 50-hour cut off, which is considered very generous.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people who are not able to travel or would rather do their first big runs locally, they're put off by the fact that you've got to do it in XYZ time. And it can be
exactly that.
really debilitating. Yeah. So actually, by being able to introduce a run and say it's really accessible, it's a lovely environment, it's a good mix of abilities and people. And guess what? You take as long as you want.
Yeah.
That will blow people's fucking minds, So yeah, let's get that out there, mate. That needs to happen, definitely.
The other thing you've got to think is when you're putting on these events is, yes, you have all your volunteers. I mean, anyone that volunteers at our events, we give them free race places in return because we're trying to build a community. But if you've got, in our case, it was like 20 entrants for a 100 miler. What I know from experience, and you guys probably know from entering events, is you always get roughly about 10% that don't come on the day for injury, or they just, not very often in a 100 miler, but in shorter distances, people just don't turn up. Life crops up or whatever. So you've got a DNF rate of roughly, generously saying 20 to 30% on a 100 miler. So if you've got your marshals out at aid stations at mile 78 and mile 90, as we had, and they're waiting for 11 runners, and they're 8-9 hours apart, it's a big ask on your marshals, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's
potentially you
so
could have
many
more
things.
marshals than runners
Exactly
as well.
that. Well, you would have. We got a marshal team of like 25 in place, and of course, we mark all the routes out as well, which is pretty rare. I think a lot of people just insist on GPXs. We put signs out, like on a 50-mile route. I think we put 200 signs out because I like a lot of people to come. A lot of people are intimidated by navigation, so if you haven't got a GPX, you haven't got a watch on a 50-miler, you'll be okay. Obviously, most people do, and we suggest they do, and we provide that. But we also want to make it, here's your signs. Well, that's like 2 days' work to set it up. Then you've got the event. Then you've got 2 days at least signing it. And Katie and I work full time as well. There's a lot of work goes into these things. So the 100-miler was going to be a week beforehand marking it out, stay awake for 3 or 4 days, and then spend a week tidying up the route. It's a lot of time, isn't it? It's a lot of investment.
Yeah, so you need the numbers, don't you, really, to make it
Yeah.
even worth your while. Yeah, that's true. Well, let's try and get that out there, mate. We need to make that happen. And if we can help in any way by getting it out there, then awesome. Just to switch all the way back to obviously starting about your insane FKT challenge. I know obviously I'm sure you get asked about it all the time and stuff, but obviously we could probably do an entire podcast talking just about that, mate. So we'll chat about it. But what you averaged approximately 48 miles per day, is it? Or something like that?
Because I was coming on, I wrote a few things. Actually, it surprised me when I wrote a few things down. So, yeah, it was average of 46 miles a day, average of 5,500 feet a day. My longest day was 65 miles, and my shortest day was 31 miles. And in the last 8 days, so I ran for 23 days. In the last 8 days, I covered 445 miles and climbed 55,000 feet.
Oh my Jesus.
Shit.
Mate, and you've got Nathan here, who's he's doing the Welsh Coastal Path. So I'd like to say you've got a bit of a challenger here, Alan, just to see if he can take your time.
Listen, I love it. Just there's so many people going for it this year, and I've said to you, Nathan, I'll say it to anyone. I'll support anyone as much as I can. Any help or advice I can give is great. I'm quite jealous of you having the time and the challenge to go out there and just do that. Just that feeling. I think I said to you earlier when we were waiting to come on air, Nathan, it's that first day is really tough. Going around Anglesea's a challenge. Anglesea's beautiful, but obviously you go over that bridge, do a 135-mile loop to come back to the same bridge, and then you come over that bridge and turn right. Then it's like, right, now we're heading south. Let's go. That's when it feels like you're really starting to make some ground up, but you're over 200 miles into it by then, and you're just starting to realize what's ahead of you.
Yeah.
The first week is training for the second week, and the third week is to really start to come alive. I hope.
Yeah, and I do. I hope I can make it to the second and third week, to be honest.
You will, mate.
Yeah, but
You'll
it's an
do it.
experience, and I'll still be going further than a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's the way to think about it. It doesn't matter about. I know, obviously, we've got Alan who's done that, and there's Reese and there's loads of other people, but also you are on your own journey. So don't get sucked into this rabbit hole. Just take each day as it is. You'll smash it, mate. And it's good to have people like Alan who've done this and can say and support you and give you hints and stuff. But I'm curious with it. You've still got an injury, or you got an injury now. Is that related to it?
Yeah. So what happened? So, and this is what I said to you, Nathan, when we spoke on the phone. What I did last year and what I did the year before, because I tried to do it the year before the Coast Path, but I got 580 miles in to a little place called Dale. Made a little bit of a nav error. Got a bit carried away mentally and started to take some stupid risks, jumping across rocks and popped my ankle. So we had to call it a day. I did 580 miles in 14 days. Was on course then to beat Reese's record. So frustrated as I was, but I knew that I had it in me. So came back, sorted the ankle out, started training again, and came back in 2023. But the most important part of the training block for me is doing a mini version of what you're intending to do 6 to 8 weeks before you set off. So in your case, mate, you're doing 870 miles, apparently. It's 880 though. 880 miles in 19 days, let's say. So if you halve that, it's obviously, let's say, just over 400 miles in 9 days. So for me, I just thought, right, so I'm going to minimize that down to about 20 to 30% of that. So for you, let's say you do 9 days at 15 to 20 miles a day. It's preparing your body to get up and go. Plus, you've probably still got to work and be a family man and all the rest of it in that time. So what I did in my stupidity was I did 16 days at 20 miles a day. By day 15, I was having these nagging issues in my right knee. Well, I probably had them about 3 days earlier, if I'm totally honest. But I carried on, and I'm very lucky I'm sponsored by Physio, Borders Physio here in Oswestry. Great guys. Went to them, you've got tendonitis in your knee. So I was having shockwave therapy. This is 6 weeks before I set off. So I stopped training, really. I just did strength work, Bulgarian split squats, doing quite a lot of heavy squats, like the 2-3 reps, not going to failure, really trying to build up the strength. Was running probably 15, 20 miles a week, and then just set off on the Coast Path. 52 miles on the first day, and just my knee was in bits. But it's very important to me, the money I was raising charity. I mean, I'll go back to my reasons in a little bit, but I'd got nearly $2,000 in the charity pot. I'd done all this organising, and my kids were sorted, and me and Katie, my girlfriend, had taken time off work. We got accommodation booked. We knew what was going to happen. There was no way I could not do it. So I did it, and the knee got progressively worse. But by day 2, everything hurts anyway, man. So it's just, people were saying to me, Kelp and Fern come and made a documentary of it, and they were interviewing me at night and saying, how's the knee feeling? I was like, well, the knee's all right, but my left foot's knackered or my hip's sore. It was only when I finished, because you wake up every morning the first 15 miles are worse than the last 15 because it's just everything's so sore. But when I finished and got the record, got home on the Tuesday about midnight. By Friday, I was back in the gym, training my shoulders, doing some core work, feeling okay. The week after, my legs started to feel okay, so I thought I'd start running again. It was only when I started running again I realised that everything was okay except for that knee. Long story short, I went up for an MRI scan and I got tendinopathy. So running with tendinitis, apparently doing 1,000 miles plus in 23 days isn't the best thing to do with tendinitis. So I've got the tendons all frayed, whatever the word is. It's just really sore. Coming downstairs is sore. I had 6 of my coaching clients doing an event the other Saturday, a local 50 miler, so I went out to support them. And I went up to a really high point, walked up the hill fine to see them all, and then started running downhill, and I just couldn't. And that's 7-8 months later. So I'm doing strength work. I do a lot of battle ropes and a lot of kettlebell stuff to keep my cardio fitness. I was supposed to do the arc of attrition again in January, so I've deferred that. So I've got that January. What year are we in? 23, 24? That's my target now. I mean, that's a rough race. I did that in January last year as part of my training for the Coast Path, and I'm not sure that isn't where my issue started. Excuse me, my tendinitis. So rocky down there, that Cornish Coast Path. So if there's any doubt in my knee, I won't do it. I'll just have to write off the 212 quid. I do think after that, I'm going to be very selective about where I run. I've always preferred trails to mountains. I love trail running. I just like single track, woodland. That's my favourite. So if I do the arc, that'll be my last sort of seriously rocky bit.
How did you cope, Al, with sort of like just being on your own for most of the day?
I liked it.
Especially when it got deep, like painful.
I quite liked it. I like that challenge. I like to put myself in situations where you've got a choice, like a yes or no, backs against the wall sort of thing. And really and truly, I just think whatever you feel when you're running, unfortunately, most of us have probably been in worse situations in life than, oh, my legs are sore, my foot's sore. So you've got to have the ability to just step outside yourself a little bit and think, what's the worst that can happen here? And what is the worst thing that's happened to you in your life? And does it even come close? No, it doesn't. And what is happening to someone else right now? I mean, in my case, I was sexually abused as a little boy. Had a bit of a rough time with that. That progressed then through to spent some time in a young offenders institute because I was a very angry young man. Got in a bit of trouble, for violence, got in trouble for drugs, was doing a bit of drug dealing. Had very mixed up late teens and early 20s. Finally saw a counsellor at 26 and dealt with all that. I say dealt with it as much as you can, but discussed it openly and came to terms with it. So I've always been able to draw on a shit experience. And whatever situation I found myself in life, I've always just thought, well, you've been in worse, fella. Get up, have another go. And that's certainly true with running. There's nothing that running's going to put me through that makes me feel like I'm going to give in. Sometimes to my own detriment, obviously, with this knee issue, but just what it is. I have no regrets.
Can you remember when you did the Welsh Coastal Path, which bit of the route where you thought this is just miserable in terms of like scenery and terrain? Was there any?
Yeah. No offense to anyone. I think when me and you were chatting last night, Reece, I think I couldn't remember the name of it, but I think it might be Port Talbot. I think it might be a town called Port Talbot. So you came in there and I had the OS maps because I was really, I really didn't want to make any mistakes. I made a few nav errors and missed a few bits, got myself back on track. That's where a few of the miles were added. I realised I'd missed a turn, went back. But I got to Port Talbot and I'd ran by the side of a road for quite a while, breathing in fumes. And I looked, and there's a coast path sign, blue one going down there, or then it's a red one, uphill, high route. And I looked at it. I looked on OS Maps, and I thought, that's going to be quite a bit further. But then I thought, well, I'm ahead of the record. And what are you really, really here for? Are you really here to make a life experience, or are you really here to get a record? And are you really here to raise money for this charity? So I made the decision to go high, because I just didn't fancy running through an industrial town. No offense to those residents there. And I didn't fancy running next to fumes of cars. And I started climbing up, and I've got on my Garmin watch, it's like telling you elevation. I'm climbing, it's like 300 foot, 600 foot, 1,000 foot now. And I can look down and I can see this town. And I did have some second thoughts, but then I got up on top, and you run across some beautiful sort of forest trail, and you're looking down at the town. And then my phone went. Katie, my girlfriend, was waiting for me down in town. She just assumed that I'd take the easy route. So he was a bit peed off with me because they'd been waiting down there, and the guy that was making the film was down there to do some shooting, and I just pissed off up into the woods, having the time of my life. And it was actually hot that day because I had such weird weather. It was actually hot, but that was really tough. It was tough running by that road for a bit, and it was tough making that decision, but I made the right decision. Having said all that, Nathan, if I was you, I'd go through the town, man, because you save yourself about 1,000 foot and a couple of miles, which when you're chasing time, you do spend a lot of time on your own there. So,
but I just think that I'd have to put myself through what you went through. Otherwise, I just feel that it wasn't as hard as what you went through.
Yeah, well, ironically,
I'd feel like cheated it.
That's ironically, that was in my mind as well. I was thinking, I don't want anyone saying you took the easy option, because I did it on Offers Dyke as well. On Offers Dyke, there's the same thing. There's a path down by the river. What would it be down in Monmouth? Would it be
Severn?
It's not the Severn. The Y. The Y.
Yeah.
So there's a path down by the Y, which I did when I ran it the first time. I ran the Offers Dyke South in 2021, and I did that flat bit by the river, so I knew it. But then you come to it, and there's a high route again going up into the woods, and I thought, I'm just doing it again. And Katie then was trying to talk me out of it, but I was just like, no, I'm doing it again. And I went up and got another 1,200 foot or something that didn't need to be got. Yeah,
Why not? Why not, didn't it? You've mentioned a few times now about the charity you did it for. Obviously, we need to touch on that. So, do you want to talk more about the charity you did it for?
Yeah, well, I touched on what happened to me when I was a little boy. I didn't actually mention that to anyone. Obviously, I had to speak to my parents in my late 20s, and they had to deal with it. As a family, we had to deal with it. And a few very close friends I've told in my 30s about it. But I first decided when I was running around Wales, not last year, 2022, I was having a rough time, and I was on Anglesey. Made another balls up, which is another story. Like, we need another podcast for that story, really. I'd had a self-inflicted injury, and I was really angry that I couldn't run properly. And then I started getting all worked up about what happened to me when I was little, and how angry I was at the guy that did it. And I just ended up channeling all that anger and just forgetting that my knee was bad, and just banging out 40 miles in an afternoon, doing a really big day, running like 40 miles in 12-minute miles. Got back ahead of Reese's record, and then just decided, you know what? I'm just going to do a post and just let people know what's going on, and what happened when I was a kid, and that it doesn't need to hold you back, because there's bound to be other people that's carrying that anger and that shame that I've carried for years and years. So if I can live with it, maybe I can empower someone else to live with it. So I did. I opened up about it, and then once it's out there, it's out there. So not this year, 2023, I decided to run for charities that would make a difference in that field. So I ran for Access Counselling, which are my county, Shropshire, which is bordering Wales. There's a local charity called Access Counselling, and they deal with people. They will only deal with people with historic cases of sexual abuse. Obviously, if it's someone that's got an ongoing court case, because of law and all the rest of it, they can't deal with that. But if someone's got a historic case of sexual abuse, either a teenager that happened as a child, or me as a 45-year-old man that happened 30 odd years ago, they will give you help with that. And the other one, the Children's Society.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because the Children's Society, obviously deal with all that, and they'll deal with children that may be at risk of exploitation, maybe at risk of grooming. They'll help the families, because there's just such a massive repercussions for the families. You imagine your parents finding out that something happened to you when you were a kid. It's horrific. So everyone needs some help. Everyone needs support and counselling. So that's what I did. And we raised the money. What we did is we gave people the option on the Just Giving page. Obviously, a lot of people that know me here locally wanted to donate to the local one. People that were national would put the money into a national pot. But then the amount of people that saw me on the coast path, you know, that had seen their YouTube or whatever, they were coming out and giving me cash. So anyone that gave me cash, we just said, look, do you mind if we do half and half? Because we came back, put all that cash in my bank, and I just transferred it half and half into each charity. That's how we did. That's how we dealt with the cash. But those charities, yeah, they're the ones I chose.
How much did you raise in the end? You know?
Just under 9, I think.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was good. When I first ran Offers Dyke in 2021, I ran for Calm. Obviously, you know, I've had a couple of suicide attempts myself over the years with drugs, and I've lost a few friends at my age to suicide. So I decided to run for Calm. And I think coming out of lockdown, people needed a story of hope, and people had a bit of disposable income. So I raised 21 grand that year, just running 177 miles. And it was, you know, it was just once in a lifetime thing, that was. Because that amount of money was just bonkers. But to raise like 5 grand in 2022 and then 8 grand last year, they're still massive amounts of money, and they're still life-changing amounts of money for several people. So it's brilliant.
Well done.
Wouldn't
really,
change
really good.
well.
It all counts, mate, doesn't it? At the end of the day, like it's
Do you know what counts more than anything, Reece? It's not just the money; it's the fact that people can see that someone that maybe experienced what I did as a kid, or went to prison like I did, or suffered from drug abuse, can now go out and run a marathon or 50 or 100 or whatever, and be open about it and be like, you know what, this shit happened to me, but I'm okay. I'm a father of 3 now. I've got a normal life. I'm a little bit angry sometimes, but I've dealt with it. So it makes people maybe feel that are in a position not as content or as happy as me currently, but think I can get to that point. I can heal. I can progress. It gives people hope. I know that sounds really narcissistic, but it does it. You can give people hope that they can get to a better place. And the amount of messages I had privately of people that have, you know, men and women that have suffered similar things, abuse, and just for them to be able to then open up, it's empowering for them, isn't it? And that's more important than the money.
Hell yeah, way more important than that. Like empowering people to speak up, come forward if they've been afraid to and they're in a bad place and everything, is to raise an awareness and empowering them. Like it doesn't really matter at that stage. That's worth more than £1 million. You know what I mean? Being able to save a life or turn someone's life around is, that's the reason you do it, man. That's amazing. Wow. And I bet that got you through some real tough moments as well. Actually, like I said, knowing that there's people out there who would message you and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly that. Because there's always something that's, not only can you look on your own suffering, as I said earlier when you asked about it, yes, I've been in difficult places, but you just know that right now, yes, I've got sore feet, or I'm having a bad day. Right now, there's some child being abused or being held in a room they don't want to be in, with people they don't want to be with.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? What can happen to me on a run? What can a bit of rain in my face do, or wet feet? Nothing. You might have a bit of a whinge about it, and I might say to Katie when I get in the back of the van, "Oh, I don't want to go again," or I might fall asleep in the back of the van at 2 PM. But when I wake up 30 minutes later, she'll pass me my socks. I'll put them back on, and I'll just get back out there and crack on.
That's the way to do it. I actually read you talked about rain in your face and stuff. Then, actually, interestedly, I think it was during your Kelp and Firm documentary when you did like your little trailer and stuff. You mentioned that there were only 2 occasions when you came very close to quitting due to horrendous weather.
Yeah.
All things considered, only 2 occasions is pretty damn good for all the miles that you ran. Can you explain why those days in particular affected you so badly? I suppose this is one for you, Nate, as well. How you overcame it?
Yeah, well, I can't remember exactly where it was, but the shortest day I did was 31 miles. and I ran 1 mile that day. The rest of it was walking or hiking, and it was like leaning. I can't remember the name of it. Every storm's got a name now, isn't it? But it was that storm that we had, and it was down your part of the world. It was down south somewhere. I want to say on that Saunders Foot bit, maybe where you go in and round.
Yeah, I know. Towards Berryport.
I think so. I can't remember, but I just remember it just being like about 6,000 feet in 50k, and I couldn't run down hills because everything was so wet and slippy, and it was just absolutely brutal. Rain was coming from all angles. I did the Arc of Attrition in January and never once got my waterproof trousers out, and it's the middle of July in South Wales, and I've got my waterproof trousers out, and I'm just freezing cold, and I had gloves on, and I just couldn't run, and I was in pain in my feet, my knees were sore, and it was just miserable. And every time I got to the van, Katie was great and supported me and trying to encourage me, but I was horrible to her. I was just miserable. But in my head, I had to do an ultra, so I struggled through. I got 50k done, which is bare minimum for an ultra in my mind, and just got it done. The other day was further north. I want to say on the... Sorry, guys, my Welsh is awful. Before you get to the Pembrokeshire Pass, what's the one just above it?
St. David's. No, Cardigan.
No, the actual path. It's not the Pembrokeshire Path.
I'm not sure.
I don't even know.
You should know, man.
I just see it as the Welsh Coastal Path. And
yeah, well, there's another path there. Anyway, that is so up and down and really rocky. And it just hammers your legs. Even if you haven't got a bad knee, it just hammers your legs. And I had the poles out. And I think I did like 8,500 feet and 50 miles that day. And I was just exhausted. Yeah, that was... I had a lot of doubts that day that I could carry on.
It wasn't Glyndwr's Way, was it?
No, that's a separate one. That comes inland. That's from Hunford back to Knight, and that's my part of the world.
Yeah, that's on the border, yeah.
Oh, I don't even know.
Ceredigion. In fact, Louise, one of my, I said on the YouTube video, the Ceredigion path, and she messaged me and said, I need to give you Welsh lessons. That's fucking awful. She hammered me. She's Welsh speaking as well. I know her husband is. She wasn't impressed at all because I put it on YouTube. It's like I tried.
Have you watched them back yet, Al?
Just literally, Katie and I had a few days away because obviously she's training. She's doing Offers Like herself in a few weeks. So we had a little break away for a few days to do a bit of running. Yeah, and while she was out running, I watched them back to back for the first time.
Jog any memories of like scenery?
Yeah, jogs some memories, made me choke up a little bit, had a few tears. It was really emotional because I just haven't been able to go back there because, one, we touched on it earlier, I'm quite brutal in terms of like changing your friendships and whatever, moving on. When I come back, I was supposed to be doing the Snowdon Ultra in September. So I come back in the gym Friday, thought I was just going to get back to training. And then when I realised I couldn't, I was really frustrated and I just didn't want to think about running then. It was like, right, so what can I do? Right, I'm just going to carry on eating like an ultra runner because my body was used to eating 8,000 calories a day. So I finished, normally I run at about 13 stone 8, 13 stone 10. I finished on, I think, 12 stone 12. Within 2 months, I was up to 14 and a half stone because I was just lifting weights all the time, not doing any cardio and just carried on eating 6,000 calories a day.
Living the dream, as some would say.
At Christmas time, man, I decided to start doing a bit more cardio with the ropes and trim a bit of fat off. Sorry, I've completely gone on a tangent now. I've forgotten the original question.
Are they jogging memories?
Yeah,
it
did, and I loved watching it. But yeah, it was nice to be at a point mentally where I could watch it and enjoy it. And I text Martin after, because Martin's come out to see me soon because the full feature-length film, he wants to get it out this summer. I better hurry up before you boys get it and take the record.
He did a good job on the shorts. Really good job on the shorts. He did a good job on the shorts.
He did amazing. And his wife, Rachel, was involved in it as well. Yeah, because we were finishing running. So I was running, trying to do 12 to 14 hours a day. So we're finishing running at night, and then it's like get my socks off. Katie's giving me a massage, cooking food in the back of the van. Martin's then got to go in his van and start editing a film to get it out at midnight.
Jeez.
And then, I'm up 6 in the morning. I'm like, up, get some food, go. Try and get 200 to 500 calories in me in the morning. Let's go running. And then meet me at 5 or 6 miles down the road, get a proper breakfast of 600 to 800 calories in, and then try and do another 10 miles. That was my routine. Just get it done. And then
Did you try and eat gels, or did you try and get as much food as down you as possible?
I don't think I don't use a single gel. I did the year before, but I decided not to this year. I just think when you're trying to get, 5,000 to 8,000 calories a day, what is the point of pissing around with a 90-calorie gel?
Yeah, it's different.
You may as well have like 2 Percy pigs. Find you may as well, aren't you? Or a couple of jelly babies.
I never thought of that. But I was going to ask you about fueling and stuff, actually, because like Nathan doing it now, obviously, and I'm sure there's many other people who are going to be doing it. So fueling, I mean, I don't even know. Like, I'm not running that kind of distance, anywhere near that kind of distance daily. I struggle to get like a couple of thousand calories in, and I get I love food, but I get fed up with eating. How did you get those calories? How were you would your partner and friends pre-plan food, and would you batch cook, or would you go out eat fast food, or would you just put anything you could in ice, or what was it you eating?
Everything was vegan, so it was completely vegan, plant-based, the whole thing. And I'm a bit of a nightmare for eating. I don't really enjoy it that much. So we start off with trying to get those 200 to 500 calories. That might be 30 calories in my oat milk and my coffee, a couple of jammy dodgers, a banana. It would be made up of various things. But then after 5 or 6 miles with me, and Katie would do me soya yogurt, half a tin of pineapples, and loads of peanut butter and a few seeds, and I'd fire that at me. Shakes. So not protein shakes, like mass gainer shakes, like bodybuilders would have to try and put loads of muscle on. We just Googled that and we found some really nice ones, vegan ones from a company called Bulk. They were 500 and something calories. Obviously, when you put in oat milk or soya milk, that boosts your calories. Because you're also thinking, you're not just fueling, you're recovering. So your body constantly needs fueling, but you've got to be getting, a 14 stone, 13 stone guy or whatever. I need about 200 grams of protein a day as well to recover. So I'm needing about 1,000 grams of carbs and about 200 grams of protein and a lot of fat. So you've got to constantly be getting it in. But it does get to the point where you, as you just said, you're just sick of food. In that last week when I did sort of 8 days, 445 miles, 55,000 feet, I lost, I would say, at half a stone. And this is not something I'd recommend. It's not big and it's not clever, but I got so fed up of eating. I was having about 8 cans of Red Bull a day, cup of coffees, and was mainly running on, because my body was so efficient at burning calories then, I was just burning fat and muscle as well. There was some muscle loss. My arms went quite skinny, and it's not healthy. And I had when I come back, I had a really acidic stomach for a couple of days. But I think I said on the last film, I just can't wait to go home and stop eating. And I did. I went home on that Tuesday night, woke up Wednesday, and just said to the kids, right, you can have a day off school. And me and Katie took the kids to Wagamama's, and I got in there with very little appetite. And then when the food started coming out, I just started hoovering it up, and then I didn't stop eating for the rest of the day. So my appetite soon came back, but for that initial 12 to 24 hours, it was nice to just not have to, Katie shoving food in my face or.
Yeah.
But I ate like a variety of foods for the first 10 days to 2 weeks. I was on it. Peanut butter and banana wraps, sausage sandwiches, like vegan sausage sandwiches, Mountain Fuel or Tailwind in my drinks, Coke, liquid calories.
Yeah, because I was going to say, is it not hard to? I can imagine. Wow, this is a completely different, a big old debate in itself. Again, a whole podcast episode. The carnivore diet to the vegan diet. So it is.
Yeah.
Did you eat a lot of corn and stuff like that? Because again, I struggle. Was it mainly liquid? Was it?
I just don't like corn. I don't really eat processed foods like that.
Wow.
The only processed foods I would have had were some weird fake chicken sandwiches that Katie made me, but I didn't like them much really. Peanut butter.
Wow.
Peanut butter is king for me. I
Yeah,
love it.
it's one of my favorites as well, man. Absolutely. When I'm doing long runs and stuff like that, that's my go-to breakfast. That is peanut butter on toast with jam, and I'm a killer for it. I love it. That's mad, though.
Peanut butter and bagels are good as well.
Yeah.
They take some chewing. But yeah, Velafort bars, 220 calories. I had quite a lot of them.
Oh.
Other brands
Okay.
are available. This is my sponsor.
Nice
Look.
one.
It's bigging up my sponsor, water.
I'm
Water.
making
Yeah.
shitloads of notes here.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Well, did you have like
Have I gone really dark here? Do I need the light on, by the way? Sorry.
Yeah, you've gone out.
Hang on, wait. Hang on.
you kind of look a bit like Darth Vader.
All the bulbs have gone, man. Hang on. Oh, I better not turn that on. I'll probably turn the computer off. Sorry.
Don't worry about the harsh point. It's all good. It's like a
I never sit in
silhouette.
this corner. There we go. What's that?
That's better. There we go.
Flip it
It's
back a bit.
there's a nice ambience background.
Yeah,
That's mad.
so
Go on.
food is. I did have a couple of McDonald's. Martin got me a couple of McPlants. That was the only fast food that I can remember having. Oh, we had an Indian one night as well, which was just a fatal mistake.
Ooh.
Because they all fancied an Indian, and we got in, and I said, "I'll just have some chips or something," and that was Fishguard. So we were in a campsite at Fishguard. Oh, my stomach wasn't good the next day at all.
I can. Yeah. That
Wait.
doesn't sound like the best idea when you know you got to do 50 plus miles the next day.
No, but we all had these great ideas at the time. But all in all, I would say I got the nutrition right.
Because that's the main thing. Because like everyone says, it's basically an eating and drinking competition. But did you find it hard to get back to reality? Because obviously you're away doing this unbelievable adventure for 22 days. Did you struggle, looking at the mental health aspect and everything that you've spoken about, going from being in a different place basically every day,
Yeah.
traveling this amazing route? Because it's brutal, but it's a hell of an adventure.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Some people would only ever dream of doing, and then you slap back into reality and you're not doing that anymore. And then obviously you get your injury, which we've touched on, but was it hard to just not do that every day?
Yeah, there was some really difficult moments. I would say more with the injury than the reality check. I came close to relapsing. I didn't pick up a drink at all. I came close to relapsing probably October time. Once I couldn't do Snowdon, and I realised I wasn't going to be doing the Arc in January, and I realised that running was just some far off goal for me. But I didn't relapse. But I'd got the experience of 2021 being out there doing Offers Dyke for 3 days. That was the most difficult. The first time I didn't run a marathon until I was 40. So I ran a marathon at 40 and then started doing these crazy distances. And then I did Offers Dyke, and that was just magical. Because my first experience, that was really difficult coming back to reality. In fact, I would go as far as to say that's when the huge changes started in my life. So then, obviously, in 2022, I did 580 miles in 14 days. So that again, I came back because with my tail between my legs because I'd done my ankle and I was a bit depressed. But I was back running again within 3 weeks, and I was bang on my physio and working hard. So every time I do these things, you're developing a mindset, aren't you? I'm learning all the time. So when I came back this year, my mindset was, well done, you broke that record, give yourself a pat on the back, right, get to gym on Friday, you'll start to get ready for Snowdon. Obviously the rug was pulled under my feet from that one, but we had, running Monk Trail events, we had a 50 miler and a marathon to put on in September. We do that on the same day. So, right, get focused on that. I can't help Katie mark the route, so I was driving around in the car, dropping off clusters of signs for her to do, and I just kept busy. I just focused on my mind, right, what can I do?
It's almost a bit of a blessing, this being the race director and having your company, isn't it? Because, like you said, when you've not got a run to do, or you can't do it, I should say, you've still got that enormous task of putting a race on, and like you touched on earlier on, the amount of work that goes into it. I'm sure that is like the distraction that you need when you're feeling a bit low as well.
Yeah, and I've always got. I mean, I've my coaching clients. I don't take loads of clients on. I try and keep it around 15. Occasionally, I might take one or two more on, but generally, I try and keep it at 15 because I think that's manageable. Because I like to be personally involved with each and every one. So there isn't many months go by when I haven't got a client doing an event, and it's not all just about the event to them anyway. I like to be involved in the day-to-day training, and there isn't many. I train in 4-week plans. There isn't many people can fulfill a 4-week plan without some hiccups for kids or work or wives or husbands. So it's an ongoing process. So I'm involved in the running world, and as I say, Katie upstairs is doing Offers Dyke in a couple of weeks. So not that I would take any credit for her running, or I don't coach her, but we talk about running. She does her own thing. So I get to live my running life through her and through my clients and through the event company.
Yeah,
and I do love the gym as well. Don't get me wrong. I love fitness. I love strength. So I love it all. So I'm always going to be doing something. And if my arms drop off and I can't lift weights and I can't squat, then I'll just find something else to do. I'll go on the leg extension machine, or I'll do battle ropes with my teeth. I'll always do something. I'm not going to stop.
You got such a strong mindset that nothing's going to stop you. And actually, that was something nice little segue into another question I was going to ask. As a coach, talking about that, then, what advice would you have for aspiring ultra runners, like for example, who, especially those who are facing their own personal challenges and obstacles, and have got some pretty shitty traumatic things that they've been dealing with in their past?
My biggest thing I say to any runner, stroke ultra runner, is we are all capable of this. You see some of these tools on Instagram that make out it's this thing that, I'm superhuman because I've done this, or this elite sport, which is just bullshit. I am the most ordinary person going with the most ordinary life and the most ordinary past. But I'm just quite determined so I can have a go at things. So can anyone that walks down the street, anyone that who we know is capable of doing this stuff. It isn't some specialist sport. It just takes, if you want to be successful at anything in life, if you want to be a successful dad, if you want to be a successful personal trainer or whatever, you have to work hard, you have to be consistent, you have to be disciplined, and you have to mean what you say. If you say you're going to do something, you need to show up and do it. Whether that be running a 5K or whether it means going to bed at 8:30 the night before you're doing a 50K, whatever it is. And if you do those things consistently over time, then you will develop either as, like I say, a dad, a runner, whatever it might be. Running any distance is just like life. It rewards consistency and it rewards discipline and it rewards effort. So I put those lessons into everything I do as a person and a dad, as a runner, and that's what I try and get across to anyone that asks my advice, whether it be a client that's paying me as a coach, or whether it's some random that asks me at an event.
Yeah, that's good. That's solid advice. You can't really go wrong with what you've said there. We always, me and Nathan, Rick, pretty much with every guest we've had on, we always say that you need to run because it's fun. You need to enjoy it, but don't get swallowed up by comparison, because it is the thief of joy, as everyone says. And the amount of people who I talk about running with, and they're like, "Oh, I can't do that," and I'm like, "Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. You don't, we're not saying to get up when you've never run before and go out into 100-miler, but you can do it. You just got to work hard." And the problem is with a lot of people is they like the idea of crossing a finish line and holding a trophy up for 50K or a marathon or even a 5K, but a lot of them aren't willing to put the hard work in, and so they'll never get them. And so it's all about just saying, you can do it. Anybody can do it. Just work hard. Just like anything in your life. How did you get your promotion in your job? How did you get to where you are in your career? You didn't get it by somebody handing it to you. So yeah, it's a very good attitude to have. It's transferable in life, isn't it?
You know, the flip side, and I said this to Katie the other day, because obviously she was talking about the Offers Dyke, and I just said, similar to what you said at the start, Nathan, about your challenge coming up. I said it doesn't really matter doing the Offers Dyke now, and it doesn't really matter to you, Nathan, if you do the coast path. The thing that I really admire about both of you, what you've done, and the thing that gave me the most pleasure is having the balls and the guts to consistently train, to show up through the wettest winter we've just had in 150 years, to do the strength training, to have the early nights, to miss out on nights out with your friends, to sacrifice time at a weekend with family, to put yourself in a position where you're capable of running the Offers Dyke or the Coast Path or doing your first 100 miler. To me, doing these events or these laps of countries or whatever is like a victory lap, because what I really admire about anyone that does it, and what I'm proud of myself for doing, is putting yourself in the position that you're capable of starting. And that doesn't mean if you start a 100 miler, you've made it, because not everyone that starts a 100 miler has put the hard work in. But if you've put it in and you know that come race day, if you don't get injured, you are capable of finishing 870 miles, 177 miles, whatever it might be. And that in itself is a massive achievement. And that in itself it's just a good feeling to know that, yeah, this is okay. And you're just settled, you're mentally settled that I can do this.
Nathan, I bet you're buzzing. I can feel the excitement. He's listening to Alan now, and he's like, "Come on!" You just want to get there now, don't you? And I want to get to that 100. And
I do kind of feel pretty fucking pumped right now, and I think I should go for a run rather than edit this. So yeah, I just want to go. I want to go on the weekend.
I'll speak to Nathan tomorrow. He'll be like, "I did 75 miles last night after coming on the
podcast." Where are you? I'm in Cardiff. Keep going.
Yeah, can you imagine that? Yeah, I'm up in Shropshire. Where do you live? Just wanted to ask one question. It was just a bit of a fun one for me. You've seen these, like, I've seen these questions with celebrities and rock stars and all these weird things where they said, like, the 10 things that you need in life to do what you do. But I'm going to adapt that just with regards to the FKT and obviously the Offers Dyke as well. Can you, thinking back now, I mean, you could say 5, you could do 10 if you want, but what 5 pieces of kit or equipment were absolutely essential to you that you could not have done it without?
I'll tell you the top thing.
Shoes.
Katie, a girlfriend. And I would say that to you, man. Getting your crew right and getting someone there that understands you, that knows what you need, knows when to not rise up when you're being a prick and being moody, because you will be. Someone that knows how to manage you when you're down. Someone that knows when to let you sleep. Someone that knows when to force food down you when you say you don't want it. That is paramount. That might be one person, that might be 3 people, whatever that might be. I say that to anyone. And the same for you doing your 100 miler. If you're running it with a friend or you're having crew, choose carefully. But in terms of actual kit, Dry Max socks. I ran, I think it was nearly 1,040 miles before I had a single blister doing the coast path.
Oof, Nathan, take notes.
I think Martin filmed my feet quite a few times on the YouTube stuff. It was a flipping miracle, my feet. I just didn't have a blister. They weren't swollen. You can see, I'm not at the minute, but I was quite slim then. My feet every night, I take my trainers and socks off, they're veiny still. You can see all the sinews on the top of them. They just didn't swell because I was taking care. I mean, obviously I had a huge variety in weather, but I was wearing Dry Max socks and Innovate Trail Fly Ultras, 0 drop. I swear by them. I mean, I've worn them for everything. I wore 2 pairs for the whole 1,059 miles. 0 drop, all the tarmac miles, all the trail miles. Happy days. So those 2 on my feet, those trainers and those socks, Dry Max socks, love them. Sudocrem.
Yes.
I had major gooch chafe. Oh, I was in serious trouble, man. On day 3, it was like I had a few friends that obviously know me well from home, and they're like, "Dude, you're running really weird." They could see that I was just running my legs about 8 inches apart, giving it to John Wayne. I was just in so much pain. It's like I don't care about my feet pain, I don't care about my leg pain, but under there is really uncomfortable. And then another dude who I chat to on Instagram, who's done the spine a couple of times, messaged me and said, "Sudocrem saved my life on the spine. Try it." So Katie went off to some local shop and got me some Sudocrem. It took about 24 to 48 hours to do its work, but every time we stopped, I was like slapping it on underneath there. Saviour.
Nathan's literally on Amazon now, shopping basket. He's like,
I've already got it.
Bathing in
cream.
it. Yeah,
Well,
they're the main
Well-
things, man. Looking after obviously your chafage and looking after your feet.
and having that support. Yeah, I'm doing. You mentioned that, so I've got. I imagine with you, Nath, you're going to be having a lot of people come and support you. I, for one, am going to try and do as much as I can with you to help you if you want it. And then with me, I'm gonna have a pacer, probably from I think 56 miles, which is when the sleep station is. I got a very successful running friend who's a good friend as well, and yeah, actually, he's doing the Cape Wrath Ultra, 8 days of it soon up in Scotland, and he's done the Dragon's Back and everything. I speak about him a lot because I'm very proud of his achievements.
Cool.
Yeah, he's offered to come out with me, so that'll be really good. He's gonna basically kick my ass when I'm, a miserable bastard and just ready to just throw the towel in. I guess at times, and
Don't
'cause he'll be
sleep. Don't
Yeah.
sleep, man. Just keep going.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I've toyed with the idea, but I'm not really a big sleeper. Over the years, I've never been a huge sleeper. I was always the one who could get up and just go. Things
Yeah.
have changed since having a kid. Like, don't get me wrong. It's very different because I was able to get up and go when I wanted before being a dad. Now, when you want sleep, you can't have it really. And, if your kid decides to wake up, that's not their fault. It's just got to be done. So I struggle a bit more now, but I'm not a napper. If I nap, I'm a complete zombie for hours. I'm just
Yeah.
out of it, and I don't think that'd be safe. So,
Yeah, having said all that, I'm exactly the same, man. I do 100 mileage without sleeping, but on the coast path, by the time we got into the end of the second week, start of the third week, as I touched on earlier, I was getting in the back of the van some days, and then I'd just wake up half an hour later, and Katie would just say, well, she let me sleep. But I'd wake up, and I'd be good, and just get going again. Yeah, it might take you a mile or two to get going, but that definitely helped me go till 8, 9 o'clock some nights.
Yeah.
But that's literally your body shutting down on you. You've got to go with that, haven't you? But I think
Yeah.
100 miler. When I did Offers Dyke the first time, I went 42 hours without sleeping, and then I was having major hallucinations. I was running through the woods, and I kept thinking I was going upstairs to bed. So I was going to lean on the banister, which wasn't there, falling in the nettles and brambles. Katie and Wayne, my friend, were picking me up, and it was just bizarre. That was. And I
That's hysterical.
and I kept thinking there was badgers in the field, and Katie was like, "No, they're rabbits, babe." But I thought they were like big badgers running around. Really
I
weird.
love hallucination stories. Like, be careful, like, because last week we had a few people on talking about a race they'd done, and one of the guys had done his first 100 last year, I think it was, and he said that he had some hallucinations in his first 100 of Bruce Forsyth and Wallace and Gromit hugging a swan. And
Right.
which is totally bizarre. And I said, "Oh, that's mad! You should get that tattooed." Lo and behold, the next week on Instagram, I didn't even realize he opened his own tattoo shop. He's there and he's tattooed Wallace giving a swan a hug on his leg. Shout out to Chris.
I haven't got room for badgers on my body.
No, you don't yet. No. That's amazing. Nathan, have you got any more questions, mate?
Yeah, Al, is there anything in terms of like running that you really fancy taking on?
Yes. Again, that mindset we talk about, just accepting where you are. I'd said earlier in the year, I would love to go back and do the coast path and do it quicker, because obviously I was pacing myself to do the whole thing. So, for example, I did it in 19 days, 5 hours. I knew I was going to beat Race's record, but I stopped at Stu O'Breeze on the Friday night in Newport. So I got there with 27 miles to go. If I wasn't doing Offers Dyke, I'd just have carried on, say another 5 or 6 hours to do that. So that would have been another sort of half a day knocked off the record. That day, I mean, the weather I had was awful. It was a 31-mile day. There was a day I think I did 36 because I was just tired. I'd like to go back and do that someday and just knock another day or two off it. But the reality is I'm opening my own gym now. I've always been quite free with my work because it's coaching. I do personal training, mobile personal training. and I work with kids 2 days a week, but I'm self-employed with that. I just go into schools and work with children that have had a tough time in life. But now opening my own gym, being committed to open 7 days a week, I'm never going to get to go back and do that, really, unless I get to the point in the future where I have staff, but I'm too much of a control freak for that. So the answer to your question is yes, but I've got to put them all on pause at the moment. The only other one that's feasible is I'd like to go and do Anglesey FKT. Because I think that's quite accessible. It's 135 miles, and I think it's something like 40 odd hours.
No.
So it's doable.
That'd be interesting. You heard it here first.
Yeah. Well, it's a really I loved Anglesey. Like I say, it's just a bit demoralising. You'll find this, Nathan, because it's just like fucking hell, 135 mile detour over this bridge. What you've got to do is accept it's part of the journey. This is part of Wales. It's bloody beautiful. I'm just going to enjoy it. Just do that. Easy for me to say because I'll be watching on Strava. So yeah, outside of that, to be honest, man, I'd love to go out and run a 10K next week. I'd love to go 5K. I just want to start running again.
Yeah.
That is the target right now, to get back to running. To be able to go out for a run with my missus, or, just do stuff that I took for granted a year or two ago. So
have you tried it on a treadmill? Is it any different? Is it
I've got a treadmill in the gym. It's just I'd rather have my legs cut off than run the rest of my life on a treadmill. It's okay. It's not why I run. It's just not why I run. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Does it help with the pain though?
It's. I've never done more than 15 minutes on a treadmill.
Fair enough.
I can start to feel it niggling after 15 minutes, but what I'd rather do is get back to the position where I can run on trails or roads. Yeah. I don't mind running on roads out here because I live in the middle of nowhere. So the roads are all little back roads, and you might see a tractor or a quad come past, but you're not going to see many people or much traffic. So that's okay. I'm just going to be patient. I'm going to write this year off, really. If I can go and do the Arc in January for my 46th birthday, I'd be happy. If I can't, I'll accept it and build towards something else.
Way to be, mate. You got such a good mindset, mate. Fair play. I love it. And yeah, I mean, I think just on behalf of me and Nathan, mate, just want to say thank you for coming on here and being so open as well. I mean, you've said a lot of things, and I think that people are going to listen to this. And like you said, you've talked about your past with the abuse and everything, and people are going to hear this, and I hope that they'll be inspired to come forward if they haven't already spoken about it, and inspired to run or just make a change, a healthy change. So this is, fair play to you, mate. You've done a lot of amazing things. You're a very inspiring guy, and thank you so much for taking your time to come and talk to us. I know we're eating into your bedtime now, so I'm very conscious of that.
I'm going to go and have some peanut butter and yogurt first, dude.
That's right. Nathan's already 40 miles into his run. He's on his way to you.
Be quick, the peanut butter will be gone. I've only got a kilogram.
I can't eat it. It'll kill me.
I'm sorry about the lighting situation, man. I just...
That's all right.
If you have me on again, I'll be prepared with the lighting situation.
No, don't worry about it, man. That's the least of everything, mate. Who cares about that? It doesn't matter. It's been amazing. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cool.
I'd like to say at some point, maybe we can try and get some miles. And I know you enjoy a run by yourself, but if we can all get together and meet in person and go for a coffee, it'd be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
In fact, we can come up and do one of your events.
Yeah, that'd be ace. I'd love that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I like that as well. Yeah.
If you come back from Wales with intact tendons, mate. Earmark that in September. There's a marathon and a 50 miler in September. So if you both come through your big summers unscathed, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Right.
We have got.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck. Keep in touch then.
Nice one. I appreciate it, mate.
Right. Take care.
Thanks so much again, mate.
Thank you.
Take care, mate. Bye.
Bye.
If people aren't bloody inspired by that, there's something fucking wrong with them. I did really feel fucking pumped.
I mean, mate, I'm like, I fucking wanted to do the Welsh Coastal Path, mate. To hear his story and see what he's come through. to where he is. Fuck, man, that's so inspiring. I've really enjoyed chatting to him, and he was really easy to get along with as well. Because I'd never met him, never spoken to him, so that was wicked. I loved that. Really,
Yeah.
really cool. It was a really
Yeah.
good episode. I was enjoyed that a lot. So yeah, thanks ever so much, everyone who listened today. I really hope you enjoyed the podcast with Alan, the running monk. Thank you to everybody who has liked, subscribed, and followed us. We're just having fun, man. Me and Nathan are loving this. We love talking about running, fitness, and everything in between. So if we can bring anyone together and push you to listen to this, please do. Please keep subscribing. We've got some amazing guests coming up that we're both shocked have agreed to come on and speak to us, if I'm being honest. But yeah, we're going to have a good time. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And yeah, cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye.